The new LX600 is very different from the LX570 it replaces. Most notably, it now comes standard with a twin turbocharged 3.5-liter V6 as opposed to a 5.7-liter V8. The new engine produces an impressive 409 horsepower and 479 lb featuring 649 Nm of torque and is mated to a 10-speed automatic transmission and a full-time 4-wheel drive system with electronic locking center differential. This review shows the LX600 being tested both on the road and on several off-road tracks. Importantly, the off-road tests weren't conducted on particularly challenging terrain as there were only 8 pre-production North American spec LX600 models available, so Lexus clearly didn't want to break down. As one might imagine, the LX600 does seem quite capable when the going gets tough. Importantly, it doesn't come with locking front and or rear differentials and certainly isn't the most capable off-roader ever. Alex on Autos also notes that the ride quality along the off-road trails is not as luxurious as he would like. The 2022 Lexus LX600 has a lot of weight on its shoulders. The only thing the previous LX had to have was a luxury version of the Toyota Land Cruiser. Indeed, the original LX450 was nothing more than an 80 series Land Cruiser with nicer skin sold by more upscale dealer chains. Over time, the LX's styling and designation has evolved to become more distinctive, but even the presence of standard active height control can't keep up with how Lexus grille treatments erode the LX570's ability to function as an off-road luxury SUV. It didn't really matter because the Land Cruiser was there to scoop up would-be overlanders, but now Toyota is off our shores, leaving the 2022 Lexus LX600 on its own. But there's more to the LX mission than pacifying the Land Cruiser loyalists. Its new 5-tier model spectrum now includes the base model, volume-selling premium class, first LXF Sport trim, luxury class, and ultra-luxury trim that seems destined to attract high-end livery. Rich companies and buyers who prefer to sit in the right back seat. Lexus says the 3-row premium, F Sport, and luxury models will make up 85 to 90% of sales, which leaves a single-digit crumb for the base, 2 rows of 5 seats that offer zero choice, and the expensive swanky ultra-luxury that has everything plus a pair of seats. Rear massager and rear command center console which limits maximum occupancy at 4. The LX retains the body-on-frame construction, but uses the new Toyota New Global Architecture TNGA F-Series platform called the Lexus GAF. The familiar 112.2-inch wheelbase remains, but the front and rear tracks are an inch wider. There are now 6 wheel nuts instead of 5, and the electrically assisted power steering replaces the previous hydraulic setup. There's a pair of familiar-looking control arms up front and live axles at the back. Only the F Sport gets a rear anti-roll bar, and the rear dampers lean forward instead of inward. This allows the body to squat lower over the frame, allowing Lexus to ditch the previously removable rear jump seat in favor of an electrically deployed third-row seat that folds down to the floor. This new architecture also saves weight. The ultra-luxury tested weighs 5,901 pounds, behind the wheel. The driving position is less upright and truck-like, and the new comfortable seats are significantly lower than the previous Land Cruiser. The resulting cockpit crossover feel is enhanced with shifters and consoles closer in reach. The dual-screen infotainment system provides wireless audio, navigation and smartphone mirroring functions for the top 12.3-inch display, with secondary, situational and off-road HVAC controls reserved for the lower 7.0-inch display. The climate adjustment that is most often used is done through physical controls. The result is one of the cleaner Lexus interfaces in recent memory. If only the start button wasn't so high up on the main infotainment bezel, which is easy to mistake for a smaller, taller and slightly out of reach volume knob and stereo. On the way, the first thing you'll notice is that the steering feels a lot less truck-like. The new steering system is barely too heavy when off-center, and it improves parking maneuverability and highway cruising. The stacking effort in corners feels more honest than in the BMW M240i xDrive that was driven recently, and the early laps of the heavy old platform are history. Turning the drive mode dial makes noticeable changes to the steering effort, adaptive damper profile and shift schedule of the 10-speed transmission. With steering, however, it's thankfully more about tightening the initial feel around the center than simply increasing assist. Also fans of the twin-turbo 3.4-liter V6 and 409 horsepower and 479 pound-feet of torque, which means 26 pounds more and 76 feet more than the 5.7-liter V8 it replaces. The engine pulls hard but stays smooth, with none of the old powertrain gliding occasionally, thanks to a combination of peak torque arriving 1,600 revolutions per minute faster and a more progressive throttle tip. The 60 miles per hour run on the loaded Ultra Luxury took just 6.1 seconds, which is exactly 1 second faster than the last LX 570 tested. Gear shifts are smooth, and even though it's a 10-speed, there's no excessive shuffling. Passing maneuvers are easier thanks to top gears of 30 to 50 and 50 to 70 miles per hour acceleration times of 3.4 and 4.4 seconds, which are about 15% faster than before. Shift paddles are there if you want to select gears, but that doesn't seem necessary unless you choose the optimal off-road ratio in the low range. The powertrain is also much more economical, with an estimated 19 mpg combined, 17 city, and 22 highway, easily exceeding the dismal 14 mpg setup exit. It can also pull quite a bit, with the new crane rating higher than 8,000 pounds. The F-Sport and luxury models use the Dunlop's 265/50ths R22, and both can add a hydraulic active height control system as an option. A luxury sample truck is very well equipped, and delivers a smooth, quiet and steady ride on a variety of surfaces. The low-profile sidewalls do babble a bit on washboard grime, but nothing more than one would expect from such a rubber. A sample F-Sport also lacks active height control but does have a sport-tuned version of the adaptive dampers. Along with the Torsen limited slip rear differential, the All-LX has a lockable center torsion, wound progressive rear springs, and the aforementioned anti-roll rear bar. The result is a chassis that feels lighter on the feet, but, as one might expect, a ride that tends to be slippery on snow-damaged roads that meet above the snowline. However, can fully see why Lexus expects the lower-spec premium to be a volume seller. That's almost more than the LX 570, and while there's no altitude control option, it's a better vehicle in many ways.